How do you go from this to this? I just installed a 24 square meter bioclimatic pergola. Today, I'll tell you everything from scratch, all the difficulties, how to choose, basically all the little tips so you can also install a pergola like this in your garden. Hey there, farmers, I hope you're all doing well. Let's start right away by getting a bit more air. So let's get my beautiful pergola moving. There it goes. Now let's stop it here, but before we start making the video, let's pause for a second because I think everything is a bit uncomfortable like this. So let's say it's better if we start from the beginning. Let's get right into the actual installation. I decided to have a flooring made only with slabs. I didn't pour any concrete so I could keep the rustic feel of the place. The first step was to figure out what kind of project I had in mind. In fact, I went to the Pergolux website. There are various different solutions, of course. Take accurate measurements. We had taken some measurements. We had kind of guessed what the right size could be, what we wanted to do with it, and so on. Anyway, I repeat, there are a ton of solutions on the website. It can be attached to a wall. It can be freestanding. Basically, there are so many options. Start from your own needs. We ordered the pergola and it arrived within 15 days, so everything was quite fast. The logistics shouldn't be underestimated. I have to tell you, from our point of view, the logistics aspect shouldn't be underestimated. I have to tell you, the delivery of the materials was done on time precisely and there were no damaged materials. However, of course, with a pergola of 24 square meters, we had two beams of 6 meters each, so it was still quite bulky. Everything burned. A spotlight. I even burned the spotlight this morning. Sarola net, because the gate is made 6 meters wide to enter in a single maneuver. Go, 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 go. Spectacular, I have to tell you. For a 24 square meter pergola, it took us about 8 hours to assemble the whole thing. With 3 people, but it's better if you have 4. We used the cart because it was the best solution to bring the pergola from the street. At Labrina, reviewing the installation stages, that's where everything began. In the morning, the delivery truck arrived and we went to pick up all the pieces with the farm trailer attached to the tractor. We did this because 2 parts were 6 meters long, so 2 pretty big packages. Anyway, we wanted to do everything very quickly without any problems at all, so we went to pick up all the pieces at the beginning of the road. Of course, if your road is paved and can accommodate an 11-meter truck, they'll bring it right to your house. Once we unloaded all the materials, we started consulting the guide while looking at the pieces we needed. So, we didn't start unpacking or sorting the pieces, but we followed the guide step by step. So when the guide told us to open this part, we would open the box and find all the pieces there. In this regard, I have to say, well done. Now I've printed out all the instructions because there's actually a nice manual. Let me show you because you have to look for it. I found it in B176. It depends on the color of the pergola. This little jar here is, I think, a simple paste. You coat all the screws with it. See, like these, you dip them in first. I think it's to make them waterproof. Be careful because there's only one and it's essential, but it's pouring outside. Still, we're assembling the pergola quickly. So we started by building the frame first, then the 2 parts were joined together with the sides, the slightly shorter ones. I have to say, the installation was actually pretty smooth without any issues or problems at all. Look, that's how it should be. And then slowly you go to avoid it. Do you see this? This here, what mistake is this? Because you need to turn the countersunk side. So it means it has to be put like this the other way around, you see? Otherwise, you have the screw. The screw head, we'll tap it in afterward, but you see it needs to sink in. Afterwards, we'll fasten them well. Now is the crucial moment because we have to lift it onto the structure, turn it, and fix it in place. It's a bit long. I mean, it's nice, but maybe I made things a bit too big. Anyway, now we'll do it properly. Once we installed the whole structure, we put in the LED strips, we installed all the electronic components, and we installed the piston and the motor that are needed to move all the slats. Lastly, we went to install the slats and connected them all with a bar that synchronizes their movement. The hardest part is fixing the last 3 on each edge. I mean, keep in mind, these are 2 because you have to remove 4, insert all 4, and then secure all 4. Otherwise, it becomes a mess. It was a bit tiring, a moment of desperation. The sun came out, so we didn't get rained on. But basically, we installed this bar the wrong way. I mean, it needs to be rotated 180 degrees. The problem is that we were stripping the screws, and with the extension, I managed to do it with a makeshift tool. Now we're going to get new ones at the hardware store. They're still good, but I forced them a bit, so I'm worried. I want new ones just in case. Now, as soon as I put it back together, I'll show you how to assemble it, because looking back, the instructions could have been clearer. That's something I definitely add an extra note to the instructions. No, the problem is very simple. You see, it stays lifted. No, it doesn't fit into this. No, it's a big problem. Well, if I strip the thread inside, it's not a problem because I'll just rethread it with a slightly larger diameter. Who cares? The issue is if a screw like this gets stuck inside, but these should work. Anyway, when doing this kind of work, having a good workshop always saves the day. Trust me, I'm telling you. I'll take it off and show you so you'll understand. I swear, I lost 10 years of my life from the stress. Here's my flap. We installed it like this, and that's why it doesn't fit, but it should be installed like this. Now let's do a quick test. Anyway, I have 4, you found it, and I heard it go down here. Well, I'll take 8 of them. But here's another detail. White plastic and silver screws. They're never a good solution. Girl, we've done everything. So here she is, and she doesn't even have glasses. So let's do a test and see if you put it on. It should be more or less like this, just to make it go down. Damn it, it was supposed to be set up so I could get in right away, but it jammed immediately. Anyway, let's do a test first and see if the threads are stripped or not. The last action was to go and set it up. All of this is done through the app, and especially with the remote control, which I have to say is really convenient. A remote that could even be stuck to a column. However, since we're exposed to rain, wind, and so on, we just keep it aside in our little drawer without any problem at all. Something very interesting we noticed is that even if the power goes out, the entire control unit doesn't reset, so it keeps all the settings. This is important because I have to tell you that it's a real convenience during installation. We prefer to print all the materials. There's a good app and you can follow the instructions there, but I still prefer to use paper to have all the printed sheets with all the instructions. Especially because today, if I had to reinstall it from scratch, I'd probably take half the time. It was the first time we were installing everything, so it's understandable to be a bit slow. First of all, there are 2 things I recommend right from the start. I'm 2 meters tall, we're going over 2.5 meters, so all operations must be done safely. But it's up high, that's why I recommend at least having 2 fairly tall ladders. We had 1 and a small step ladder. A number of jobs were slowed down precisely because of that. On the other hand, everything is pretty standardized, so you don't need any special tools. I still recommend having a good workshop, so having a screwdriver is really essential because there are quite a few parts to put together, and having some silicone because you'll need to seal a number of parts, and that's about it. Actually, even the electric one. We didn't use the electric one, but it's always good to have everything well equipped. If you have 2 screwdrivers, even better. We weren't able to carry out steps at the same time, but we followed the guide step by step. Because skipping certain steps risks slowing you down later or having to go back over a series of tasks. Labrina is not just the place where we produce fantastic vegetables, but it's increasingly becoming a place that's lived in. I fully experience it with my family, with my children while I work. They spend the summer here, they play, and we often see it with friends who come by to eat. Sometimes it's a meeting place, we have aperitifs, we're doing tastings, and a lot of customers come by. In short, it's becoming a place that I love living in more and more. That's why you've seen a lot of changes in recent years to make it a welcoming place, but above all, a livable place, not only during the summer, but also in the in-between seasons like spring, autumn, and even in winter. From all the research I did, the Bioclimatic Pergola was the best solution. The Bioclimatic Pergola is different from the classic gazebo because of a number of features. Not only because of the structure, which is very solid and also very technological, but above all because it can moderate the climate. I installed it on my farm. Some people put it in their garden. Some install it on their terrace because it can be a bit versatile. The covered extension of a house, or in any case a livable space, is modular, so we can choose the smallest or the largest one. With glass windows, with walls, with wood, with the curtains that we will install at a later time. In short, it becomes a fully livable space, I would say almost every month of the year. Moreover, the best feature that has always fascinated me is the ceiling, the fact that you have an openable ceiling. It manages to moderate the climate, insulating you from the heat in the summer, so from direct sunlight, but still allowing a breeze to come through. Because it lets the air pass through, because it allows you, even on the hottest days, to still enjoy the garden without suffering. And of course, if it rains, everything stays covered. I call it a ceiling. In reality, it's something technologically more advanced. In fact, it's a bioclimatic roof with adjustable slats. So by adjusting the slats differently, you can control the light, the wind, and of course cover yourself from the rain by keeping everything closed if it rains. Plus, there are also a lot of really cool settings. Even for winter, in fact, you can install heating lamps so you can use it even during the winter season. To open our slats, we use the remote control. There are various programs with different settings. The pergola is always connected to power, and we've installed all the LED lighting. There is also a really convenient app to turn it on and manage everything in the best way. Both the slats, but especially all the gadgets you can install. From the very beginning, my impression was that it's made of excellent materials and has great design. I have to say, even the smallest details, the grooves, all the various cuts that are made, the holes, the hardware included in the package are of the highest quality. And I have to say, I really appreciated this. I also really appreciated the attention in certain areas, like having me use silicone, making some components as waterproof as possible, especially during the installation of the electrical parts. And one thing in particular that I really liked was also the design behind the water drainage system. In fact, when it rains, we have a pergola that collects a lot of water, and we don't have any gutters nearby, because everything is channeled in such a way as to keep everything dry. Beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, but you have to do an excellent job to really make the water drain effectively. Clearly, one of the biggest fears when installing a bioclimatic pergola is bad weather, wind, hail, and relentless rain. In that case, of course, we didn't miss out on anything. In fact, almost at the end of the installation, it started to hail. We promised ourselves, not them clearly. The purchase of a bioclimatic pergola like this is still an expensive purchase because it's an important structure. However, it's a structure that gets used a lot and, in my opinion, also adds value to your outdoor spaces. I chose Golux because of the way they got started. I like them. They're a well-established company throughout Europe. They have a very wide range, and above all, they can provide you with comprehensive support. Clearly, making purchases like this, especially with significant amounts of money only online, can be a bit intimidating. That's why they've opened several showrooms in Italy. Visit their website to find locations where you can see and touch materials, view pergolas, and ask any questions. I think this is a really interesting service, especially before you go and install your pergola. And that's it. This is my bioclimatic pergola. I hope you'll visit me sometime and maybe we can have an aperitif here together. In the coming months, we will also add a series of other components following the season a bit so we can really experience it to the fullest. Now, if you have any questions or if you want some reassurance, the comments are right below. Feel free to ask me anything, no problem at all. Let me remind you that the Pergolux website is also linked below. I have to say, it's really well made. You'll find all the information you need, so take a look and start designing your space. This is to help us make the most of our outdoor space, which is an integral part of our homes, last but not least. With my discount code, you'll get 150 euros off the purchase of your own bioclimatic pergola. Not bad at all, Matt the Farmer. See you in the next video. Bye, everyone.